Have you ever truly paused to notice how swiftly life changes? Not just on the surface, but at its very core. One moment you are standing on the peak of achievement, feeling victorious, fulfilled, alive, and before you fully settle into that joy, it quietly fades. The phone you once cherished gains its first scratch. The flower you admired yesterday begins to wilt. A child you held in your arms suddenly stands taller than you remember. Time moves silently, yet relentlessly, reshaping everything it touches. And still, despite witnessing this endless transformation, we cling. We cling to people, to moments, to identities, as if they could remain untouched by time. This contradiction lies at the heart of human suffering. Buddhist wisdom begins precisely here. It names this universal truth: impermanence, Anicca. Everything that arises will pass away. Everything that appears will disappear. Nothing we experience exists in a fixed or permanent state. Our bodies are changing even as we read these words. Our emotions shift from moment to moment. Our thoughts emerge, linger briefly, and dissolve. Even what we call self is not a solid entity, but a flowing process. Trying to hold on to life as if it were stable is like trying to grasp water with bare hands. The tighter the grip, the quicker it slips away. Yet the human mind resists this truth. Deep within us lies a longing for certainty, for something that will not change. We search for permanence in relationships, achievements, status, and beliefs. We tell ourselves, if I can just secure this, then I will be safe. But life does not follow our desire for stability. We build emotional castles on shifting sand and feel betrayed when the tide inevitably arrives. The pain does not come from change itself. It comes from our refusal to accept it. The Buddha spoke clearly about this. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Notice the depth of this teaching. The Buddha does not say that impermanence causes suffering. Instead, he teaches that ignorance of impermanence and resistance to it is what binds us to pain. Life changes regardless of our preferences. The real question is not whether things will change, but why we cling when we know they must. Buddhism explains this clinging through the concept of tanha, craving or thirst. We crave pleasure and fear pain. We crave continuity and fear loss. We crave identity, telling ourselves, this is mine, this is me, this defines who I am. But impermanence exposes the fragility of these claims. The praise we receive today fades into silence tomorrow. The beliefs we once defended with certainty evolve or collapse. Even our strongest convictions are not immune to time. When we cling to what cannot last, suffering becomes inevitable. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you squeeze it tightly, it escapes your grasp. If you hold it gently, it rests in your palm. Attachment works in the same way. Love, success, youth, and joy can be experienced fully, but only when we do not demand that they stay forever. The demand for permanence turns beauty into anxiety and love into fear. The Buddha illustrated this truth through powerful stories. One of the most moving is that of Kisa Gotami, a grieving mother who lost her child. Overwhelmed by sorrow, She begged the Buddha to bring her child back to life. He gently asked her to bring a mustard seed from a household untouched by death. She went from door to door, only to discover that every family had known loss. In that realization, her personal grief transformed into universal understanding. Suffering did not disappear, but wisdom arose. She saw that impermanence is not a punishment, it is a shared human reality. Another time, the Buddha pointed to a lotus flower and asked his disciples to observe its beauty. Then he reminded them that it would soon wither. Its impermanence did not diminish its beauty, it intensified it. Because it would not last, it became precious. This is one of Buddhism's most subtle insights. Impermanence does not make life meaningless. It makes it meaningful. So how do we live with this truth? How do we stop clinging without becoming cold or detached? The Buddha taught mindfulness and equanimity. Mindfulness allows us to see clearly what is happening in each moment, without distortion. Equanimity allows us to remain balanced amid gain and loss, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Together, they help us relate to life without possession. Take a simple example, the breath. Each inhale arises, stays briefly, and passes away. Each exhale does the same. Life unfolds in this rhythm of arising and passing. Or listen to a sound nearby. It appears, changes, and fades. No sound stays. By observing impermanence in small, ordinary moments, we train ourselves to face the larger changes. Aging, separation, loss, and eventually death, with wisdom rather than fear. The Buddha taught us to observe our experiences with the understanding, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, this is not rejection of life, but freedom from illusion. One monk compared this to holding a bird. Grip it too tightly and you harm it. Open your hand completely and it flies away, but hold it gently and you can appreciate its presence without controlling it. This is the art of living engaged, loving yet free. When impermanence is deeply understood, something profound shifts within us. We stop fighting life's flow. Instead of exhausting ourselves by clinging to every rock in the river, we allow ourselves to move with the current. Impermanence, once feared, becomes liberation. We stop demanding that life give us what it never promised, permanence. And in that acceptance, suffering loosens its grip. The Japanese concept mono no aware captures this beautifully. The gentle sadness and deep appreciation of things precisely because they do not last. Cherry blossoms are breathtaking not despite their brief life, but because of it. Awareness of impermanence deepens gratitude, presence, and compassion. The Buddha taught that enlightenment is not found by escaping impermanence, but by seeing it clearly. He who sees impermanence sees the Dharma. He who sees the Dharma sees the Buddha. When we stop clinging, we love more honestly, live more fully, and face death more peacefully. Not as a theft, but as another transformation. So return to the original question. If nothing is permanent, what are we holding on to? We are holding on to illusions, the hope that life can remain frozen. But life is movement. Freedom comes not from stopping the river, but from learning to swim with it. The next time you notice yourself clinging to a memory, a possession, or even an idea of who you think you are, pause. Take a breath. Observe its impermanence, and ask gently, if this cannot last, how can I hold it more lightly? That single shift is the beginning of wisdom. It is the path the Buddha walked. It is where suffering begins to fade, and where true peace quietly arises.